Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our third session of translating the keys of the Bible. We're in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15, and we're translating this key right here that I'm highlighting on the left-hand side of your screen. You'll notice that I also have the Legacy Standard Bible translation, the Septuagint, which is the earliest Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls on the right-hand side. It's always good to see whether there's significant differences amongst these. We'll discuss those when they come up if they're really relevant to our discussion on translating key. And by way of reminder, we're translating key because as a linguist, I find that when you open up grammar books, they have way too many proposed meanings for what key means. There's no way it means all of that. And also, there is no agreement as to what key does mean. No two people who discuss key are in agreement with each other. So this is a serious problem which has resulted in all sorts of, I think, translation errors throughout the Bible. And I say this because every proposed meaning of key, despite the fact that no one thinks that all of the proposed meanings are true, have made it into the Bible. So there's 18 proposed meanings. All proposed meanings are found in translations, and everyone who studies the issue agrees that there's no way that all of these are true. So nobody thinks that the translations that have been given to us are entirely accurate. So you might want to ask yourself, why are translators doing something that um, they are pretty confident? Well, if they're maybe they're just really ignorant, but they should know that uh, there's no way that all those possible meanings are true. So why would they do that? Well, it's because they don't know how to translate it. So they grasp at the straws that they have and they do the best that they can. We can only ask them to do the best that they can. We can't ask people 30 years ago translating the Bible to have time traveled into the future, learned from all that linguistics has had to teach us, and then traveled back in time to give us an accurate translation of the Bible. That's that's a ridiculous expectation. So uh, just because they know that they're probably getting some stuff wrong, and we know that they're getting some stuff wrong, uh, they have to translate the word somehow. So they're doing the best they can. We need to look at them graciously instead of with an eye of condemnation. So, anyways, my PhD work is on linguistic analysis of key, and we're going to translate all roughly 4,500 occurrences of the word, and so that anyone who is interested in seeing how to translate some of these very difficult verses can, you know, see how a modern linguistic analysis would do so. We'll begin with verse 14, and then read 15 as well, and talk about how to translate key here. So your months and your appointed times, my soul hates. They are, let's see this expression, prepositional phrase, infinitive construct. They are for burden. Actually, that's not a construct, that's a noun. They are for, they are like a burden against me. They are a burden upon me. Something like that. Literally, they are against me or upon me for a burden. So you have to think of kind of what does this idiom mean? Well, it probably means they are a burden to me. Uh, and weary, so I am weary of carrying. So, carrying their feasts and their months and their appointed times. So that's probably referring to um, like monthly festivals and other appointed occasions where they gather together to worship God. Uh, when they gather together, God's very being is, is disgusted. He hates their gathering together to worship him. It's a burden upon him. Think of a really heavy backpack that's weighing you down, making your muscles ache. That's what their worship is like to him. He wishes it wasn't happening. Um, and he's weary of carrying it. Like he just wants to put it down, doesn't want to see it or touch it or deal with it again. It's terrible stuff. Hates their worship. So, and in your spreading out of your hands, so when you spread out your hands, I will cover my eyes from you. So he's going to cover his eyes and he's covering them up, his eyes away from them. So it doesn't mean he's not looking anywhere else, but he's specifically not looking at them. So they raise up their hands and say, "Oh God, we love you, help us." And God covers his eyes and says, "I don't want to look at you, I don't see you." Then also, or even, then key, you multiply prayer. Uh, I won't be listening. Your hands are full of bloodshed. So we're proposing that key has three possible translations: when, if, and that. Uh, Also, that uh, you multiply prayers. Yeah, I don't think any of the proposed uses of, well, the ways that the word that can be used in any of the languages of the world really fits here. So it's probably going to be if or when. So even if or even when you multiply prayers, I won't be listening. Your hands are full of bloodshed. So what is this even if or even when? So let's think quickly about this. So think of the construction. So if A is true, so if um, you multiply prayers, then B is not true. And this is how, well, how does Septuagint say? Let's get this out of here. The Septuagint has Chi. Oh, this could also be, um, could be used as even. Let's just move this down a little bit so we can get this get the Dead Sea Scrolls lined up. And yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls fully agree. So I think we got full agreement here. So just the usual if then. So if A is true, then B is not true. But when you say even if or even when, what you're saying is uh, so B is not true. So um, I won't be listening. So it's not true that I will be listening, regardless of whether A is true. So even if is saying regardless of whether this is true, I still won't be listening. So no matter what, I will not be listening. It's not just when you spread your hands, it's not just when you multiply prayers that I won't be listening. It's at all times, in every situation, I will not be listening. Even if you spend all day praying and raising up your hands and saying, "Oh, God, help me," God will not be paying attention. He has zero concern for what you have to say or your plight. And of course, if you read through the chapter, you see it's because they have rebelled against him. They don't pay any attention to him or their covenant with him. So he has zero regard for them and doesn't have any interest in paying attention to their worship or prayers. This is pretty much in line with the way it's normally translated, uh, except for the way the legacy is translating it here, because it's translating the word even or also as indeed, and to a certain degree you can do that, but then they're adding the word even in here, and I don't know where that would be coming from, So they're having ki be although, and they're having gam be both indeed and even at the same time, which is kind of crazy. I don't see why you would do that. Perhaps they think that the word ki by itself means even though, and it definitely doesn't. There's no way whatsoever that a word um, that is used in a, you know, to create a condition, as we were looking at. So let's get rid of the negative. Uh, there's no way that the same word communicates a real conditional. Like, uh, if A is true, then B is true, as well as regardless, like B is true regardless of whether A is true. Like there's no way the same word would communicate both of these. That's why concessive conditionals, which is, even if is a concessive conditional across the world's languages, either use a different word or they add another word into the sentence to create this concessive meaning. There's no way that any language tolerates one word communicating both, because it makes it impossible to ever say if and then. Uh, because that same sentence could apparently mean a concessive conditional that B is true regardless of whether A is true, versus uh, B is true when A is true. So it's yeah. So I don't know what their thought process is for the way they've translated this. Let's see what the English Standard Bible did. So the ESV says, even though you make many prayers. So the even would be the gam, the though would be the ki, and that's perfectly good. They're not adding any extra words in there unjustifiably. So in this case, the English Standard Bible is doing better than the Legacy Standard Bible in translating this verse. Yeah, and that's Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15. Not terribly different from what we're used to reading.